Hello, thinkers. Welcome back to the Apex Mind. What if I told you if there is no God, there is no good? There, morality cannot exist without a God. And the reason I say that is very simple. But first, let me show you something interesting. A mathematical equation I made. No God, no good. But it does have a deeper basis. And that deeper basis is the problem of art. Now, in morality, what we do is we define two things. Firstly, we define what is good, and secondly, we define what is bad. Good, as we understand it, is something that we should be doing. Bad is the opposite of good, therefore, it is something we shouldn't be doing. You should be helping people, you shouldn't murder people, you should be respectful to elders, you shouldn't genocide an entire state and then claim it was done in self defense. The point of the matter is the problem or the question of morality becomes what should be done. The word should is the biggest hurdle or the biggest definer of morality. So let's make this word into a demon. If we can catch this demon, we can define what should be done, right? Only when we understand should can we understand if morality can exist. Now the problem with should is that it doesn't exist in nature. There is no such thing in the material universe which is should. Think about it. The big bang happened, stars did whatever they did, galaxies expanded, the earth was made, life came into existence. Through science, what do we observe things, right? Okay, so this is the process that happens. If I throw the mobile phone, it will come back down. I am observing, and on the basis of those observation, I am predicting models, and then I'm aligning if I want to create an invention. So I see that if I heat up a metal, for example, I heat up this phone very, very like make it 1000 degrees hot, and then I dip it in water. That water will reach a warmer temperature, and that is beneficial for me when I want to take a bath in the winters. So we use principles that we observe in order to make predictive models or inventions that are useful to us. But again, in all of this, in all of science, there is no should. There is no morality whatsoever. You can describe things as happening. The closest thing that we can get to a should is the process of evolution. For example, we as creatures are driven to reproduce, and we as creatures are driven to survive. So survival and reproduction are the two biological juggernauts, two biological biceps that exist so that you can look muscular, or in this case so that you can what so that you can propagate. I don't know. The point of the matter is that it is simply something we observe in nature. Biological life forms do that, we tend to do that. But should we do that? See, again, there is no should. Morality is when we introduced should into the picture. Now, how do we generally introduce morality into the picture? We do it by a theological principle, we do it via a god or a religion. So we say this. Okay, so the way that we define morality is such that, okay, so there exists a god who created the universe, so who is the father of the universe. Now the father decides what needs to be done in the household. So the father, as your father, the father of the universe, also tells us you can do this, you can do that, and you should do this, you should do that. Within that religious structure, it makes sense. Similarly, for law is, by the way, sort of tangentially based on religion, right? Religion gave a template of should, and law followed it. And when you are a citizen, you should not go murder people. Why? Because the larger purpose, which is society's well being, will be detrimental to it. And society itself wants its own well being. So maybe then should becomes a matter of your own personal well being. But in that case, if let's say I can murder someone and that can grant me one extra rupee, I should still be doing it because it benefited me, it was for my well being, right? If Because when we're talking about society is good, we're not talking about things which are outside the perimeter of society. So that should be the case with ethics also. But it doesn't make sense, right? You're trying to construct a universal axiom, and it's fine when it comes to philosophy. In fact, if I had to construct ethics without the need of a god, I will first need to understand where ethics come from, which, in my understanding, the feeling that something is good or something is bad is simply innate to us, because it is informed by our culture, our biology, our upbringing, but it is subjective. And then you can use your rationality in order to act upon it, and that can be basis of morals. But even those morals are not universal in nature. Axiomatically speaking, those morals are again constructed via rationality. You don't reach a universal truth or a universal should. Instead, within the existing parameter of the universe, you're creating an abstract principle of good and bad. So it is similar to numbers. Numbers are not fundamental, or math is not fundamental to the universe. It is simply a tool that we have, which is abstractly higher than the material universe. Similarly, that good and bad will still be subjective to the human race, subjective to the human sensibility, subjective to humanity as a whole. It won't necessarily be universal in nature. So, universal, a true good or a true bad, can very honestly only exist when there is a God, because a god becomes a universal truth principle, according to which, if you align stuff on his own to according to his desires, and even if a god does not have a desire, if he is truth, if you align yourself with it, it will be considered good. But obviously, a willful god, a real god that did make the universe and which is the father of the universe, will be a better way to go about defining morality. It will be a cleaner way of defining morality. But either way, whether or not you believe in that, real morality, universal morality, absolute morality cannot exist if there is no God. At the very least, you're going to require a universal truth principle. So, I notice this because I am not afraid to question my own assumptions. I am not afraid to question my own upbringing, because I notice patterns, regardless of what happens to me. And you should too, because patterns, they're everywhere.